Hello, welcome once again. In this video I'm going to show you how to create slicer in Excel. I'm also going to show you how to create two or more slicers for a single table in Excel, and we're going to equally do the same thing for a pivot table. And more to that, I'm going to show you how to customize the slicers to make it look cool aesthetically. You know, Excel slicers make your pivot table, charts or dashboard dynamic, and it is more visually intuitive for users on a Excel dashboard. So let's get on to that. So if you have this data where you have a state, for instance, and then the children screen for TB in each of the states, how many of them that were presumed to have tuberculosis, how many of them that were tested for TB, and then the number of children who were diagnosed at the end, what's the case yield. If it is more than 5, we'll say it is high. If it is below that, we'll say it's low. And then childhood TB patients started on treatment, how many of them eventually commenced treatment, and what's the enrollment percentage, and which region are they coming from. So usually you can just use a filter and maybe just select by region, uncheck and check this, and you have for each of the region. But slicer will make it more dynamic for you. So to do that, if you have a table like this, I leave my cursor here and I will go and click over here. You see table tools on the topmost ribbon, and I will click on design, click insert slicer. I'm going to select states and I will click OK. If you observe here, my states are here, and it's just one column that we have here. So I can go over here and change the number of columns to be 6. And when I do that, I'll click enter. I'm going to stretch this a little bit so that I can have proper view of all the states the way I like to see it better. So I can select any of the states. You can see here you have Abia, and I can clear selection by clicking over here. That I just what you just saw me do now. And if I want to select for multiple states, I can just press Ctrl and press the states that I'm interested in. These I'm interested in this and this. So you have the two states. If I have another state I'm interested in, I click on it to appear that way, and at the end I clear selection. So that's one about that. So you can create two or more slicers for a single table. For instance, we can still click over here and just come to design and click on insert slicer. So maybe I'm interested in the region. I'll click on this, check this, and click OK. So I have this over here. Let me do the same thing just like I did previously. I can just change the number of columns to be 2, just to make it look good for me, or the way I want it to appear. I can equally still do the same thing, add another slicer to it. In this case here, we're interested in the case yield, whether they are high or low. I'm going to just move this. I'm going to move it over to this place, and this is what you have, right? So you see, I can click on a region, say East, and I'm interested in only those that their case yield is low. I have in one state. If I click on North, and you see, it will bring out the selections for me with the ones that are low. If I click on High, you can see the states that are high that way. So if I want to really customize this, I can just click over here. Let's clear selection so that I will just click over here and then come to slicer settings, and I'll come and type here on the caption. I'll just say this, select, let's put this here in brackets, state of states, and then I will click OK. So you see, I've changed the header of my slicer. I can do the same thing over here. If I don't like the header, maybe you don't like any to see the headers, you go to settings, slicer setting, and you just click on check this, display header, click OK. You see the header for this has disappeared. So but I want to see my header, so I'm just going to go over here and click display header, and I'll click OK. Alright, So if I want to further customize this, maybe to have almost similar color as this, I'll click on any of this header, come to options, and then I can just click here. You can either click this, you can see that this changed. If I want to maybe have just like we have 3 slicers here, I can just simply click on select. I will click on the very slicer I'm interested in and press Ctrl, and also select this, and then just pick the very color that I like. So that is that for slicer when you have a table, right? If you want multiple selection, you press the state that you are interested in, and then you press Ctrl and you select the state that you like, you see, and then you can clear. If you like, you can just click. If you want continuous, you press Ctrl, and then you can either drag this way and you have continuous selections. Can you see that? So that's one of the ways to do selections if you want multiple selections, right? So if perhaps I want this in a pivot table, I just want this in a pivot table. Let's say we have a pivot table. In this case, let's just insert a pivot table since we don't have one. I'll click on insert pivot table. I'll click OK, right? So I'm going to make some of my selections. Let me select states. I'm going to put it here, and okay, let our state be by the row. Good. And then number of children diagnosed with TB, we'll put it this way, right? So that we have sum of children diagnosed with TB for each of the states. So if I want to add a slicer, maybe we have this kind of pivot table and I want to add a slicer to it, I can just come over here. If we're interested in the region, we'll just come and right click, add a slicer. So this is what I have here. I'm going to add a slicer over here, right? I'm going to add slicer here and do this. Let's just change this to be 2 columns. Let me make it 2 columns. I'll click that, click enter, so that it look more beautiful. Click on this again. So maybe for case yield, I'll right click, and I have for case yield as well. I'm going to adjust this, bring it over to this place. So you see what we have here. It looks pretty great, right? So if maybe you're also interested in the states, you just want to add slicer to the states, you can just click over here and just do the same thing, essentially the same thing we have done before. Just change this to 6 columns for better view, and change this to be this format so that it will look good. You know, I can just okay, let's just adjust it to be this way, right? Okay, so bring it down and all that. So this is that, right? So if I click on the east, you can see this is what you have from east. I click on high from east, this is what you have. So I'll clear selections. Another thing we're going to do now is to add a simple bar chart to it, and you'll see what it looks like when we add a simple bar chart to it. So I'm going to click on this, and I'm going to come to analyze, and then I'll come to pivot chart. I'm going to add pivot chart, and I'll click OK, right? So let's close this, and let me just keep it this way, right? So when I click on east, you can see here these are the states in the east, and if I click on high, you can see these are the states in the east that are having high case yield. And if I click on north, these are the states in the north with high yield, states in the north with low yield, and all that. So if you want to change the color of your slicers, you can just simply press Ctrl, select this, and select this. Just come to options here, maybe just select this so that you have a fine color. You can equally do the same thing to your table. You come to the design and you just give it this kind of color and stuff like that. Alright, so we have seen how to create slicer in Excel and how to create 2 or more slicers for a single table in Excel. If you really enjoyed this video, please do click on the like button and click subscribe, share the video, and turn on the notification bell so that once we produce new videos, you can enjoy more of the contents as they come. Thank you.